Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Language of Leadership. I'm your host, Chuck Martin. And today we have our guest, Dr. Kevin Davis. Kevin and I have known each other for a little bit, being in masterminds, and he's a good friend of mine. And I was really looking forward to having the time to bring him on because he has a lot of unique insights as to things that leaders should be taking into account. And we're going to talk about that. But before we get going, I'd like to have Kevin introduce himself. So, Kevin, thanks for being here.
Hey, Chuck, I appreciate it. One thing is I'm a physician assistant, not a doctor. So just let the audience know. A lot of people still address me that, but I always have to kind of clarify that. But it is an honor to be on here with you. Like you said, we've known each other for several years in different masterminds. So it is an honor.
Well, thank you. Can you give us a little bit of your background and what it is that your focus is on at this time with your book and the things that you're doing right now?
Sure. I'm a physician assistant. Been one since 1994. Currently do family practice. So, I see kids from anywhere from 2 months old to 90 years old. So I see
Wow.
the whole gamut. So there's a lot of things I see each and every day. And, as far as my practices, I still see people every day in a clinic. But one of the things that's kind of like changed for me in probably the last 7 or 8 years is, how I approach um, someone who has a specific complaint, whether that be lack of energy, not feeling well, not sleeping, anything like that. So over the last 7 8 years, I've kind of changed my approach a little bit. Instead of like, when we're in school, a lot of times we are just taught, okay, here's a problem, here's a pill, or here's a test, or there's things like that. So, I'm 53 now, and when you're in your 20s, you hear these 40 or 50-year-olds complaining about stuff, and you think, just your labs are okay, you're fine, don't worry about it. But when you start to be 40 or 50 and you have these same complaints and you do your labs and your labs are normal, but you still have these problems, lack of energy, lack of strength, whatever it may be, and you start, your radar starts changing. You think, okay, there's something else. There's something else that's causing it. This pill's not helping. I don't want to take these pills. There's side effects to every pills. I still use prescribed medicine, so it's not like I'm anti-medicine, do it every day. But when you start having these symptoms yourself, you start thinking, okay, there's something else. There's something else that's causing these issues. And that's when I start taking a deeper dive into okay, what's the root cause of these problems? And so now, whether you're my client in my clinic or you're an online client, I try to figure out what is the root cause of the situation. What is whatever complaint that you have, whether it be weight loss or sleeping, like we talked about, what's causing it. So my approach has been a little bit different as far as like here's a pill, here's a supplement, whatever it may be. Even though we still use those, I'm more of like, okay, let's uncover the root cause of the situation, and if we can take care of that, then possibly we don't have to worry about the pills or tests or those type of things. So that's kind of where I'm at now, and that's why I've kind of wrote that book, Young and Strong at 40 and Beyond, is just to see, okay, these are the potential problems that can or causes that's causing your problems now. If we can address those, not only can we help you feel better now, you're going to be in a much better place when you're in your 50s, 60s, and 70s because your body's not had to deal with these chronic issues for, decades.
One of the things that you were talking about with your age, you're the same age as I am.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I see a lot of the same things that you're saying, but dude, you are a coach, you are a physician assistant, you're a podcast host, you're in masterminds. You have got all kinds of things going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the things that I have found is that if people are not active, that contributes a lot to what's going on into their health as well.
Oh,
You see that
definitely.
with what you're doing?
Yeah. A lot of people, like I said, I'm 53 now. And there's a lot of people that want to know, how can I do all these things? Um, and it's just the whole approach to your body. And in the approach that I have is, I cover diet, exercise, sleep, and prayer. And you have to have those four pillars of health to be where you want to be at. So if you're not addressing those, you can't live the life and be productive like you want to be. You know, the thing that I try to get people to understand is like, you know, I'm committed to exercise. It's not like, do I exercise? I exercise every day. You know, it's not a question. And right now, I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been in my life. When I was 40 years old, I couldn't do a pull up. I couldn't do a pull up when I was in high school. I was one of those kids who just like, you know, saw these kids doing pull ups. I thought, man, I can never do a pull up. So 10 years ago, I started making a lot of changes in my life. And then it's not just exercise, it's everything that contributes to that. But now, you know, I can do 20, 30 pull-ups at a time. And, you know, that's the hope that I try to give people is, you know, no matter where you're at in your journey, you know, next year you can be better off than you are right now. But you have to figure out what the problem is for you specifically. Now, there's some stuff we can talk about generically everybody needs to do, but everybody has a specific type of exercise, a specific diet that they need to be on to fit their body at this time. So, you know, people look at me and I'm in the clinic and they say, well, I wish I could be fit like you. Well, you can. You know, it's you do the same things, same type of things that I do. You can do those things. It's not like I have these great genetics that all of a sudden, you know, I can do all these things. Just like I said, I couldn't do a pull up. So if I had great genetics, you know, I'd be physically strong when I was in my teenage years, and you know, I wouldn't have those issues. But no, my genes aren't like that. It's just your genes are not like, it's not like your destiny. Your genes are there. Your lifestyle figures out what your genes or your body's going to do with your genes. So just because you have somebody and you got family history, you're more, you know, prevalent to have maybe diabetes, doesn't mean you're going to have diabetes. But if you eat the same kind of diet as your parents did and they have diabetes, then you probably will have diabetes. I have people that, you know, that have the same genetics. One sibling, you can look at them. They're on medications. You know, they're doing finger sticks. They're doing all these things. Another sibling is not. So you have to understand that, you know, what you do every day is going to take you in the direction that you're going to go.
You know, one of the things that I'm seeing a lot with leadership when I go in there is the mindset. You have a lot of people that are in high stress jobs, or they're feeling the stress of being a leader. And so they let certain things go. One of them is their health. The other is their physical activity. And you all hear the same thing, and I'm sure that you hear it all the time in your practice, where people say, you know, I just don't have time. I'm going in 50 million different directions. And I ended up having a conversation with somebody just the other day where they were talking about that. And I said, well, it's not a priority for you. And I said, if it is, you will find the time.
Mhm.
There's no such thing as I have no time. If it's important to you, you're going to find the time. So with people being in leadership, you being a leader yourself, how do we help leaders get over that mindset of, you know, this is just the way it is. I'm a leader. I'm expected to do all these things, to be in all these meetings, to do all the things that I have on my plate. How do we get them past that mindset of, yes, you have all that to do, but you still have this over here. And if you don't concentrate it on it, you're not going to be here for very long.
Yeah. That's a great question. And I get that a lot. The people that I serve are usually the entrepreneurs, professionals who busy lifestyle, because I can relate. So I'm the same, but you mentioned the different things that I do. You know, I only have 24 hours a day, just like you do. So everybody's that way. But, you know, with the leaderships, you know, it's doing the hard things. You know, you have to do the hard things as far as to get where you want to go. And I don't know if you're a Dave Ramsey fan. I partially am. Follow most of his stuff. But one of the things he always talks about, and people can relate to this, is, you know, your budget, your money. You don't get a pass just because you have whatever expenses that you have. You only have so much money, and that's the way your budget is. You know, you only have what you have. I try to get people to understand with their health, no matter how busy they are, they can justify it to now to, to the moon and back. But your health is your health. You don't get a pass. If you are not taking care of yourself, your body doesn't say, "Oh, well, Chuck, you've been busy. We'll go ahead and heal all these chronic problems that you had just because you're busy." It doesn't give you a pass with that. So you have to understand is no matter what you think, your body is responding to what you're doing to it. And one of the things that I think that is important is, everybody talks about this is, what's your goals? What do you want? I have grandkids. I got 5 grandkids, number 6 on the way. And, I want to be able, when I'm in my mid 60s to 70s, to take them, to the beach, to ride bikes, to do things like that. I want to be active doing those type of things. So for me, one of the things that drives me to get up and do the things that I need to do every day is because I know, because I see this in my clinic, is people who don't take care of themselves when they get to be in their 50s and 60s and even 70s, they can't do the things that they want to do physically. They're too tired. They don't have enough strength. They don't have enough stability. They can't do those things. So you have to find something that is important for you to get to where you want to go. And one of the things that I've come across with, especially with the New Year's, this is in February when we're recording this, all these New Year's resolutions are coming. Everybody made a whole page of them. Well, now it's, in February, they're probably not keeping them. So instead of making a big list as far as, all the things you want to do, I think the one of the more important things to do is what's the minimum you're going to do. So what I mean by that is like, okay, you say you want to work out, you want to do a physical activity. And you say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week for an hour and work out, my back one day, biceps one day, chest one day, and whatever it may be. So you have all these plans. You go work out. You never worked out. You never done anything. But here you are committing yourself to 5 hours a week, 1 hour a day to go work out. Well, a lot of times that's really hard to keep. So one of the things I try to get my clients to do is what's the minimum you're going to do? In some clients, their minimum is doing 1 push-up a day. That's all they're committed to do. That's who they become. They become somebody who exercises by doing 1 push-up a day. Now, obviously, if they're doing 1 push-up a day while they're down there, they may be 2, 3, they may be doing 10 of them. But if you're committing to yourself and you say, I am a person who is going to exercise, and if all that exercise is just 1 exercise, 1 push-up a day, over time, that's going to build. I kind of took that from James Clear's Atomic Habits, doing 1% better every day. You have to develop the habits to get to where you want to go. And if your goal is to be healthy, to be able to enjoy your kids, your grandkids, and with us, we're talking about professionals, you've worked your tail off for 20 years, you want to be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. But if you don't take care of yourself in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, when you get to be in your 60s, you're not going to feel like doing those things. So I think the important thing is, have some long-term goals. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And then, how are you going to get there? What's some baby steps incrementally that you can do each and every day to get to where you want to go? I tell them about my lifestyle, my daily habits. Well, I didn't start that way, 13 years ago. When I was 40, I started, by just doing these small things. And then I've kind of built on. And now, like I said, for me, exercise is not a question of, am I going to exercise? It's like, what am I going to do today? So my mindset has changed because I become a different person. And to become a different person, you have to make those small steps to get to where you want to go. And use an example of exercise. And maybe just saying, okay, I'm going to do 1 push-up a day. I'm committing myself. This is who I am.
What do you say to these people that they think that they have to have a gym membership to go and work out and do all these things? Because we all know at the beginning of the year, like what you were talking about, gym memberships skyrocket.
Oh, yeah.
And then now it's February and those people aren't going.
Yep.
Right back to what they were doing before.
I mean,
No,
you can do home workouts. We have an app for our clients that has, do you do dumbbells? Do you have bands? Do you have no equipment at all? And we're able to reach whatever it is you can do. So you don't have to go out and spend, hundreds of dollars. You can do a great exercise at home, um, and get the results that you want to get. You can go spend $10 on an exercise band, and just if you do ever decide to get an exercise band, don't be like me. I thought, hey, I'm strong. I can do these exercise bands. And if anybody's ever done these, they'll know what I'm talking about. I got this big, thick exercise band thinking, okay, I can do all this. I've not used it one time. I had to go down to to the second smallest one to get to the workouts I want to go. They are really hard to do. So you can do it. You just sometimes you have to do some research. You have to figure out what it is, hire somebody like you or something like that to help you guide where you want to go. But you can do it at home. You can do it in your hotel room. And that's what I like about the exercise bands. If you learn exercise using bands, and let's say you travel somewhere, you don't have to have an excuse. You can take the exercise bands, put them in your suitcase. They don't take up much space. And in 15 minutes, I can give you a workout that you're going to have to sit down afterwards because you're going to be so tired from just 15 minutes of a workout. So there's really no excuse for it.
yeah.
I built my own gym at my house uh, during COVID because that's just what I like, and my kids like to work out as well too. But you don't have to do all that. You can just have a band, or you can just do body weights. Just body weight exercises that can get you where you want to go.
Well, not only that, but the thing is what you brought up just a little while ago, you don't have to have all this equipment. And I think that's what a lot of people think that they have to do in order to
Mm-hmm.
do it. And maybe you do need it. I mean, that's something that each one of us has to make that decision. But, like we were just talking about, people buy it and then they're not going to use it. And, I start looking at Craigslist in March and you can find all kinds of stuff on there that you can
That's a
pick
good
up
idea, really.
for real cheap. Um, but even traveling, like what you just mentioned, Kevin, I think that's an important thing too, because I think sometimes, and I've been in that situation where I've had an excuse, well, I'm on the road, I'm going to be doing stuff, I'm not going to have time. I force myself now to have my shorts and my workout stuff in my bag, and that's one of the first things I look at when I go and make reservations somewhere. Do you have a gym?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do the
You
same
know,
thing.
and then I make before I go to bed, go downstairs and work out.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I don't have time in the morning. Okay, well, I got time at night.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep is overrated. Maybe you'll argue with me about
I
that, but
will in a minute about that. But the other thing that I do kind of piggyback on that is when I go somewhere, usually I like working out weights. I mean, that's just me. Everybody's different. Don't have to do
yeah,
it. But with me personally, like what I try to do is when I go to a city I'm not familiar with, I search nearest gym to whatever hotel I'm trying to stay at, and I find their hours, and I already know this is where I'm going. Saturday morning. This is the gym I'm going to go to because I see what equipment they have, and that's just who I am. So that's what I'm talking about. And if you were to talk to me, 20 years ago when I was 33, I didn't do all these things. Probably the
hmm
one thing I looked at if we were going somewhere is where we're going to go eat.
yeah,
That was my main concern. Now it's like, okay, what kind of gym does the hotel have? If they don't have what I need, what's the nearest gym?
yeah,
So, it just becomes who you are. And
exactly.
again, it doesn't take, you can't do this like New Year's resolutions and make that 180-degree turn. It's really hard to do that. Some people can't, but most people can't. It's just like, just start small. Start at your house, commit yourself doing one push up a day. That's all you need to do. Is commit to one push up a day, and then you build from there.
So one of the other things that just came to mind that you hit on a little bit was um, your nutrition, what you're eating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, man, it is so easy to just go through a drive-through, grab something, or you order something from Uber and have it brought to the office or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that most of the time, if I do that, I'm eating like garbage,
Yeah, most
and I
of it.
feel like it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's a lot of people that don't feel that they, again, have the time to research that or do that. So, what do you suggest to people that are busy leaders that have teams that they're managing and everything else that may not get that traditional lunch hour or whatever, what can they do to kind of keep themselves on track or at least be able to have the nutrition that they need to sustain what they're doing?
Well, one thing is cooking at home is probably the best thing you can do. Cooking at home because you know what you're getting. We can talk about processed oils and what they do to your bodies, you do to your cell level for your energy and things like that. But if you're cooking at home, you know exactly what you're eating, how it's prepared. So, for me, again, I think being a leader is being an example. Um, you know, I have people that go to, I'm in a grocery store. Me and my wife are at a grocery store, and this really happens. Honest truth. I go to the grocery store and I'm pushing a cart. I have people, my clients, my patients, stop me and actually physically move stuff out of my grocery cart to see what am I eating or, what are we buying at the grocery store. Now, some people think, well, that's terrible. I wouldn't want anybody doing that. I look at it as a positive because it keeps me accountable. I think it's a great thing. When I go to the grocery store, I know people are watching. When I eat at lunch and I'm talking to my staff, and my staff doesn't do everything that I would want them to do as far as health wise, but as a leader, and you can be this leader in your business, is as a leader, they're watching what you do. If you say I'm going to be a healthy person, but then you go eat pizza every day, your staff is going to there's a disconnect there. So the best thing I think you can do, and it's cost effective as well too, is cook at home and take leftovers.
Yeah.
Probably, 70% of my meals at work are leftovers because I bring them the night before. I did a YouTube video, actually a YouTube short this past weekend, just out a spur of the moment. Just, I was grilling. I had chicken on there, steak, and hamburgers. And my whole grill was filled with all that. And what I was doing is I was prepping for this week. That thing got like 1,500 views in 2 hours. And I thought, my goodness, I just didn't even mean to
You're
do
onto
this.
something.
I'm onto something here. But that's something that we do. We have food in our refrigerator usually. Now we're not perfect like everybody else. Sometimes we go off track, but we have food and we prep. So the main thing I think as a leader can do, if they want to lead people in the right direction, because your health of your staff is important too. Because if they're missing days because they're sick or whatever, don't feel good, it's going to affect their work. But if you want to be a leader at your work, prep your food, take it, and then what that shows is a couple things. One is health is a priority, and you understand health is a priority no matter what business that you're in. And two, you're taking the time to show them, okay, this is what I do. So I take, I got some Tupperware containers and I think I had like 5 hamburgers, a T-bone and some chicken. I had it in Tupperwares that I brought to work. And then as the day goes on at work, this is what I eat. If I'm hungry, I'll just heat some up in a microwave and there I go. Now, it's a lot easier just to order out. It's a lot easier to do those things because if you're not taking the time to prepare. Now, I understand a lot of people are thinking, well, I just don't have time. You've mentioned that before. People mention that to me all the time. I don't have time. It took me on Sunday, I think it took me like 20 minutes to grill enough food for 3 days. That's all it took. And I had it all ready to go. So, you can have the time. It's just what are you doing with it? I could have took that time and scrolled social media. I could have done some other things. It's just, like you talked about earlier, what are you going to prioritize? What are you going to do? So I think the main thing I think is what people can do is one, prepare and cook at home. Now I understand, just like you, just like me, there's times when that we didn't have the food to prepare or something came up or whatever it may be. So you just have to look for healthy alternatives. And some of the things that you can do with that is you can go, like if we go to Wendy's or something like that, we're in a hurt or something like that, we'll get, a double hamburger and not eat the bun.
Yeah.
And get a side salad.
And you can order them that way too without the
Yeah,
buns,
you can do those things. And if you just get used to doing those, then it's a lot easier to continue because it eliminates the decision making.
It's funny you say that because I went to a hockey game You know me and hockey. I went to a hockey
Mm-hmm.
game and I've been trying to watch what I'm doing. And I ordered a double burger with no bun, lettuce, onion, tomato.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was doing that, there was a couple other guys that were standing there and they go, "You can order it that way?" Yeah. So a lot of times people think, well, I just have to take what they're giving me,
Mm-hmm.
not realizing they can actually ask,
Mm-hmm.
can I get this? And a lot of times they'll accommodate you because they have other people that are trying to watch what they're doing too. So you
Mm-hmm.
can make it semi healthy, and still meet your goals.
Yeah. And none of us are 100%. I mean, I don't, if you watch me, all week, there's times where, I didn't do exactly what I'm supposed to do. But, if you can shoot for 90% of the time, you're doing well. And those other 10% of times, that's a lifestyle you can probably maintain.
Well, and that's a good question, Kevin. Do you think that that's one of the reasons why people start diets and then they don't keep them is because they feel that they're not
Deprived.
deprived, things like
Hmm.
that, instead of looking at it as a lifestyle and saying, okay, these are the things I need to eliminate, these are things that are good, these are things I
Hmm.
I can have. Do you think
Yeah,
that's a major factor in
I
that?
think so. Let's just take an example of someone who's diabetic. If I catch somebody in my clinic, and I've actually had a client one time that I had this as well, is we caught diabetes at the very beginning. So diabetes doesn't happen overnight. It's usually a few years process. You become more insulin resistant, then your sugars go up, and we can explain what diabetes is, but probably people don't care about that. But if you can catch something sooner,
Hmm.
then you have more leeway compared with somebody who comes to me at 55. They've been diabetic for 20 years. Their sugars are running 300. Well, okay, we got to be more strict here. There's a lot more that we have to do. We don't have that leeway to cheat on it every. I hate to use the word cheat too, but go off of your plan for an extended amount of time because you already have, years of this chronic disease affecting your body. So if we can kind of get people at the beginnings of these changes in your body, we can identify them through lab work or whatever it may be, then we can do a whole lot more as far as being able to help those. So it just really depends on where you're at in your journey. Now, even if you're 55, and let's say that you really you really need to get really strict to begin with, once we heal your body, then you can start being have those times where you can have some leeway in your choices. But it really depends on where you're at in your journey, and everybody's different with that. And that's why, like even when we prescribe certain diets for people, it's not necessarily like I see somebody today and they're on this diet and they're going to be on this diet for the next 30 years. No, we need to use this diet during this season of your life, let your body heal up, and then we can see what we can do later on and accommodate you as far as the things that you really want to have in your lifestyle.
Young and Strong at 40 and Beyond is the book that you have written. I have my copy, and you have it broke down into your four pillars that you talked about earlier.
Mhm.
Probably have you just how you came up with that here in just a minute, but I like how you have the book laid out. You started with your four pillars, explaining that, challenges, and then optimizations.
Mhm.
So, can you talk a little bit about your book and what people can expect when they read that?
Yeah, it's kind of laid out just how you said. The four pillars is exercise, sleep, diet, and prayer. And it's kind of like if you have a chair, you have to have four sturdy legs. So if you have three sturdy legs, but the fourth one, say, would be sleep, because you mentioned that earlier, as far as like robbing from your sleep. So if that one's not working, it's amazing what's happening in your body at nighttime when your body's trying to heal itself. And if you're stealing from that, you're not be able to heal yourself, or you're not able to optimize your health as best as you could, because it's dealing with hormones, it's dealing with your body's repairing itself. So there's a lot of things that's happening during at nighttime. So the first thing is you have to have these four pillars of health, because one of the things that led me to write this book was it gets confusing as far as like, what should I do? If you go on the internet, you can search for whatever, and there's different opinions everywhere. And they're probably somewhere in the middle of every one of these. If you have opposing views, somewhere's in the middle, but it really depends on your specific situation. So, what I try to do is kind of boil it down to how can I make this simple? If people can nail, generally these four areas, 80%, they're going to be able to get to the results they want to get to. If you're dialing in on these type of things, then there's more specific things for more specific conditions. But if you have problems and you're not feeling the way you should, let's say you have a lack of energy, well, go to these four. Are you doing these four things? And before you start taking a boatload of supplements or you start doing all these other things, if you're not sleeping well, then you're not going to feel well the next day. If you're eating a diet that's, loaded in sugar and processed foods and things like that, and you're not feeling well, I mean, you got to correct that first before you do anything else. Now, I help people correct those type of things, but those are my four pillars. Those are the four basic things I think you have to get right and you have to address, pretty much for any kind of like issues that you have. And then talking about the optimization and the problems, we try to, I'm like everybody else, I'm busy. So I kind of made the book to where, okay, if you're having problems with diabetes, then you don't need to read all the other chapters. I wrote a chapter for diabetes. This is what you need to do. So you can go directly to that chapter and figure out these are the things that you want to do. So the first thing is like when we're addressing those conditions, is right, we're kind of putting out the fire. Okay, you need to do these things for if you have diabetes or if you have high blood pressure, no matter what it is. And then the next step, and it's kind of like what my journey showed, is you put out these fires, you take care of the problems right now. And then the next step is, okay, I put these fires out, but how can I optimize my health? How can I not just, stay where I'm at, but how can I actually get better? So if you can optimize your health, then you can make these small steps to get to where you want to go. One thing that I never thought of, again, going back to myself, 20 years ago, I never thought I'd have a sauna in my bedroom. 10 years ago, I wouldn't have had a sauna in my bedroom. But my progression over time has led me from one step to another step, and I'm just getting deeper in my health. And then once you start figuring out the benefits of a sauna, this is after I've corrected my diet. This is after I've corrected my sleep and my exercise, my prayer. I've stayed away from sugar, processed foods. It led up to this. What's my next step in my health journey? Well, one of the things that I included with my next step is to get a sauna because there's so many benefits from it. But again, I don't expect people to go from listening to this to go buy a sauna. That's not my point. But you can make these progressions, and as you get older, again, like I said, I think I'm in better health than I was, 13 years ago. My progressions have made me to get to where I'm at, and I'm always looking for health hacks and different things to optimize my health. So that's kind of like where the book comes from. It's like identifying the core problems, putting out the fires, and how can you optimize your health?
Yeah, my son's a physical trainer, and he's doing those the cold baths or the cold plunges.
I do those.
Oh man, dude, I can do the sauna. I don't think I could do the other.
But if you figured
That
out
is,
what that does,
yeah,
it's amazing. Just like if you have lack of energy, and again, it all goes down to your cell level. Your cells, you got billions of these cells in your body. And then within each cell, you've got hundreds of thousands of what they call mitochondria.
Yeah.
Mitochondria produces your energy. That produces ATP. If you go back to your biology, if you remember from high school, there's something called ATP. But one of the things that cold showers do is it not only increases your mitochondria function to where you're having more ATP, it increases the number of mitochondria. Wow. So again, there's a lot of things you can do and incorporate into your lifestyle to address certain issues that you may be having. So, and again, it's hard to do all these things at one time.
Yeah.
I don't know, I've never done it, but I'm sure if you Googled, how to have more energy, I don't know if cold baths will come up. It may, but now kind of like why the reason behind, and that's
Yeah.
one of the things that I think that I try to do. I think I do a good job. I try to do is when I have somebody as a client, is if I tell them these things. So your audience may be listening now, like you, and say, "There's no way I could do a cold bath." Now they may be thinking, I need to have more energy. It's going to increase my mitochondria. It's going to increase my ATP. So maybe I'll try this and incorporate it into my lifestyle. So
I'll start off in the shower with the cold water first.
yeah, all you have to do
Build your
is
way up.
I don't have a cold bath. I use a
Yeah.
shower.
Yeah.
So at the end of my shower, I'll turn it on for 30, 60 seconds. The cold shower hits the back of my neck. And it helps your mitochondria, but it also helps this. You talked about mindset earlier.
Yeah.
That's where it comes into. It's a mindset issue.
Yeah.
I know you could sit there and do that cold shower. It may be hard, may be uncomfortable, but you can do it. And if you do those things, you do the hard things. Again, we go talk about being leadership. If you do the hard things, then you can talk about doing the hard things and being an example to the people that you're leading. And that's just one of the things. It becomes a mindset issue. It's not a question of like when you get done with your shower, are you going to turn cold? No, you're going cold. You know what's coming. It's still cold now when I first started years ago,
Yeah.
and I still do it.
Yeah.
So that just becomes a mindset. That's just one of the things I think as leaders, we have to overcome, and is doing the hard things with it. And when we're talking about here, probably most of the people are talking about leaders in your businesses and things. More
Yeah.
importantly, is are you leading your family? In my opinion, are you leading your family? Your business is going to go away. You're going to sell, retire, whatever it may be at some point, but your family is going to be there, and it's going to be a generation. What kind of legacy? So for me, doing these type of things, we don't sit around and talk to my kids about cold showers. They know I do them, but I don't sit and talk. But they know these are the things that Dad does.
Yeah.
Dad does the hard things. Dad does these things. And if you have sons, son-in-laws, even daughters, but if you have what kind of leader are they going to be? Are they going to do the hard things?
Yeah.
So that goes back to the mindset issue. Is just one push-up a day. Can you do that? Can you do a cold shower for 30 seconds? So far, I've asked you to commit 45 seconds to me every morning. That's all I'm asking is 45 seconds. That's where we're going to start. So if you can do those things, then later on you can build onto those things. And when you start doing those things, it's amazing how things change. It's
Things
like,
fall in line.
oh yeah, you talk about like Dave Ramsey and all the stuff. You get out of debt, you do all these things. Everything else just seems to be getting better. Your relationships get better. You're not, talking about, Dave Ramsey with the thing. You don't have that financial burden. Your relationship with your wife or your spouse or your kids or something is better because you don't
Yeah.
have that stress. And stress, going back to your health, if you can control that stress, then you're going to be able to function at a higher level. And then there's so many things that cause stress that we can go down the rabbit hole if you ever want to. But those are the things that I incorporate with the health as far as like being leaders of your business or being more productive.
Well, Kevin, you've given us a lot to think about, and I truly do love your book. I was there in the mastermind when you were going through your journey and putting it
Mm-hmm.
together, and we talked a few times about some of the things that you were doing. So it's amazing to me to be able to see people when they set those goals and they're able to achieve them and they're able to realize them. That's all part of why this podcast is here, because I believe that leaders need that motivation, that continued guidance and direction so they can become the leaders that they want to be. My commitment is I'm going to give away 5 of your books. And what I want, if there's anyone that wants a copy of this book to be considered for this, just to either email me or text me that how this book's going to change your life and why you want it, and I'll send it to you. So we'll do that.
That's all nice. I appreciate that.
Well, I want to thank you for being here on the show today. And before we go, one of the things that I like to do in in uh, in talking to people is, one, I want to acknowledge you and let you know how much I appreciate what it is that you do and how you're making a difference. I've been able to see you do many things that have made me stand in awe that a man that is same age as I am, just as busy, if not busier, um, but he has his priorities in line. And I know how much your family means to you, and to be able to see you show that, even to your staff and to those around you, there's no question that your family is your number one priority, and then
Mm,
priorities are after that, the things that we talked about today. So I want to acknowledge you for that and thank you for that. Um,
I appreciate it.
the other thing that I'd want to do is, reading to me is how you continue your growth and your knowledge and your journey in this life. And if you and I were to sit down at lunch and we're talking, what is the one book you tell me, Chuck, you got to read this book because it's going to change your life. It's going to give you the insights and the things and the tools that you need to continue your journey as a leader. What book would that be?
Well, I think especially as a leader, I think the book Who Not How that's really transformed me is because I'm at the point now where if I don't know how to do something, we're all busy, just like you said. Instead of me trying to figure it out, go on Google and search for things. I could probably figure things out, but my time is not well spent. And I think as a leader, that's figuring out is who to put in the right seat and to help them get to you, help you get to your goals. So that book is really kind of like transformed me as far as not just in my business, but like I had a garden. In COVID, we wanted to plant a garden. I don't know anything about gardening. So instead of me going on YouTube and trying to figure out what the soil is, what kind of like fertilizer and all that kind of stuff, I hired a guy who's been doing gardens for years and years and had him come up and just show me what to do.
Oh, wow.
And it's simple things like that. And I think of my coaching the same way. You can go on Google and you can search for a lot of stuff, but having somebody help guide you is where you need to go. I am not a tech person, so I've concluded I'm not figuring out the tech. I'm going to find somebody who can do it much better. Not only can do it, but do it better than me,
Yeah,
and let them do it. So I think with the leaders that you talk about is reading that book and really figuring out where's your genius zone. What do you do? What do you have to do for your business? You do those things, and the rest of the stuff let somebody else do.
awesome. Well, Kevin, what's the best way for people to reach out to you? We're going to have all your information in the show notes and stuff. Is there one way that's a preferred way for them to get a hold of you,
Yeah,
if they want to dive deeper with you?
yeah. My website is kevindavishealth.com. I have a YouTube and channel just like that, and my podcast is Four Pillars of Health. But all that's on my website. So if you just go to kevindavis.health.com, you can get all the information that you need. And there's a place on there to fill out a form, of course, if you want to connect with me. We can have a conversation. It's just to see if we're good fits as far as coaching. And there's links on my books and different things like that too. So that's probably the best place to look at.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, again, thank you for being on the show. Look forward to having you on in future episodes of the show. And all the best, my friend.
Okay, but anytime you just let me know.
All right. Take care.
All right.